Thank you so much for joining me on Val's Pop Culture Talk. And are you ready to get started with the questions?
I am. I'm ready. Thanks for having me.
So my first question is, when did you start dancing?
I started dancing when I was 1.5 years old. No one believes me, but I did. The only criteria was that I had to be potty trained. So my mom's like, here you go. So I started when I was really young.
Did you start with ballet, tap, or jazz?
I think I started with ballet and tap, so like the basics, and then progressively got more and more.
Nice. When did you realize that you wanted to make it a career?
Apparently I told my mom at 4 years old that I wanted to be a dancer. So 4. But I think I seriously thought about it and really wanted to make it my career when I was I want to say 12 or 13. I was like, this is what I want to do. I always thought about backup plans, but I never really liked those. I just was like, I want to be a dancer.
What was your earliest memory of the next step? So before being on the show, what was your earliest memory of the show?
So I started watching the show as soon as it started. I was a big fan. I was over the moon when I got to audition because it was literally my favorite show. All my friends, when I went to dance, heard about it, and they were like, oh my goodness, stop talking about the next step. That was who I was. So honestly, the premiere was probably my first memory of the next step, because I knew Brie Wazelenko, who plays Miss Kate, for so long. That was really why I wanted to watch it, was to support her. But then I fell in love with the show.
That's awesome. So, and it's kind of crazy to see, it started off as a show that nobody knew what it was going to be, and everybody has gone off to do different things. So it's pretty awesome that you got to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much time did you have to rehearse for season?
So for season 5, I had not a lot of time. I moved out 2 weeks before we started filming, and we rehearsed, and I didn't really do anything in that first 2 weeks. I just did that to get situated and things like that. But honestly, it kind of depends on what numbers you're in, on how much time you get. For example, our big group number was we had the most amount of time to rehearse that, just because it was everyone all together, and obviously we had different filming kind of things, just because we all were doing different scenes because of the TNS East and TNS West thing.
Right.
But yeah, I think the most you have to rehearse is maybe a 4-hour rehearsal, at most 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So it just depends. I know for our trio with me, Briar, and Dylan for World Famous, it was very sporadic because I was done early. I didn't have that many scenes that day that we were learning it. So I was kind of with Brittany learning it kind of for half a day or so, and just workshopping it. But Briar and Dylan didn't get wrapped till later. So then our rehearsal was kind of short. We just had to throw it at them. So yeah, it just depends on the situation.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I think season 7 was the one that they had the most dances, so it's kind of cool to see the progression and how much time you have to actually pick up the dances. So do you remember your first day on set, the first time you walked into Studio A, or TNS?
My first day on set, my first day on set, I don't remember completely. Actually, that's a lie. We weren't filming yet, but my first day was we were doing acting classes kind of thing, and also icebreakers for us to get to know each other. And we were doing this one exercise, and I'm so embarrassed, but we were doing this one exercise, and we were in a circle, and we just had to say our name and then something we like. And Miles was going, and he's like, my name's Miles, and I like to wear Zara. And I didn't know Zara was a clothing brand, so I was very confused, and I was looking at him, and I'm like, okay. And then he's like, it's a clothing brand, and I'm like, oh. And so anyways, that was my first very awkward interaction with Miles. It wasn't the first time I met him, but that was the first time we had officially kind of met, and I'm like, well, this is awkward. So that was definitely a moment I will never forget. But
I
that was
bet
my
it
like,
broke
first
the
thing I
ice
can
though.
remember. Oh, 100%. We all started laughing, and it was a great bonding moment, but definitely a little embarrassing for myself.
Wow, that's cool. So did you have a script for season 5, or was it improv? Like, how was the dialogue divided?
Yeah, so we do get a script, but there's not exact lines in it. So it's more of like a scenario-based script. It gives you the storyline, the stage directions, and things like that, but it doesn't really tell you exactly what you're going to say. It just tells you the prompt of how or like the information they want you to get across. So it will say, Zara's talking about how she and her mom got in a fight. This is not a thing, but just an example. And so and then it will say, and Josh, which is who is played by Dawson, is going to comfort her. So then we're just gonna have a conversation where I'm like, oh, me and my mom really got in a fight today. I don't know how to solve this. I don't know if I even should like go home. I don't know. That would just be my dialogue. And then Josh's character Josh would just say something back and like, you know what? I think that this would be better, blah, blah, blah. So we get to make up our own words in a sense, but we are told like what the information is they want us to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, it does. So
like,
for like talking heads and all that stuff, yeah. Because it's definitely changed throughout the years, so it's interesting to see how they did it like for that particular season.
Yeah, and I don't know like season 6 or season 7 of how like they did it for that. I think for season 6, when I talked to Dylan, it was kind of the same thing. They will say certain lines in the script if they want like a certain like live as a team, die as a team, always a team. That was like a specific line that they told us to say. But for the most part, it's pretty our own. And even for talking heads, they just ask us questions, and then we have to repeat the question in the answer, and we have to just like go back to that scene and remember what we did.
Right. It's like it's definitely like an improv exercise, I think.
Yeah.
For you guys. Did you have a favorite on-set memory?
There's so many. I think as a team, obviously doing stand-up was just so amazing because that's obviously like a very classic song for the next step, and it just like is very nostalgic, I guess. So like that was definitely a moment I'll never forget, and getting to do that and like getting to be with all of the team because we hadn't done really any scenes all together yet, or like a dance all together. So that was kind of like when our whole cast got to come together and actually like do something and like have fun. And rehearsals were so fun for that as well. So it was just like a really nice moment. But I think my favorite like moment for like my heart is my last scene for the season was with Dylan, and who's my best friend. And we like almost, I didn't cry. She almost cried though. But we were just like we kind of started the season together and ended it together, where like we auditioned at the same time, we got to know each other, we had like spent the whole summer together. So I think it was just it was just the icing on the cake to end the season off with my best friend, and we got some really cute pictures out of it, and yeah.
So do you have a favorite thing that you did offset?
We, on lunch breaks, we would go to this ice cream place called Ed's a lot. So that was fun because like we would always just like either go walk up there, or when Miles got his car that he has now during that season. So then he like took us for a ride in his new car, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so special. So I think that was just a good moment, was like that we got to like bond over lunch and like do things like that. There's lots, but that's one that comes to mind right now.
That's awesome. So with the next step, you got to like do a couple of performances, like a Big Ticket, I believe is what it was called. What was that experience like?
It was so much fun, and I was so excited because I also grew up watching Big Ticket on my like screen, and like every summer getting to watch that concert. And it even came to Calgary, which is where I'm from. I never went, but it was just like so much fun to be a part of that. Again, kind of like the next step, where I'm like, this isn't real. Like I used to watch this, and now I'm a part of it. And dancing for that many, like dancing for camera is always fun, and like I love it. But there's nothing like live, because if you mess up, you mess up. But it's also like the fans like cheering, and like the energy you get is just so unreal, and the adrenaline you get being on stage is just so much fun, and getting to do it on that wide of a scale. And then we also got to do a meet and greet with the fans. It was just so much fun, and honestly I felt like a kid there. Like I'm like, I was the talent, but I honestly just was so happy to be there and to get to see everyone again, because I hadn't been to Toronto for like a year-ish. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and I would do it in a heartbeat again. I can't wait for the day that we can all like actually go to a live show or something like that, because it's just so much fun.
Yes, that's definitely cool. Was that choreographed by Trevor? Was that performance?
It was by Trevor and Jordan.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I love their choreography. I'm obsessed.
Same. They're just so much fun, and rehearsals with them were hilarious and so much fun, and we like get things done, but also they make it just like the best time.
I can see that definitely happening. So switching gears, what was the most challenging number, like dance number or scene, that you had to film for the next step?
This isn't actually in the season, but the most challenging one I had to film is I actually had a crying scene. It didn't make the season, but it was so hard because obviously like I was having the best time of my life. Why would I need to cry? And next step was like my first acting gig as well. So like I don't know how to cry on command yet. So that was definitely the most challenging. It was definitely rewarding as well once we actually got there and I was in the zone. But yeah, I had a crying scene, and it was with Jessica Lord, who plays Lola, I believe. And it was supposed to be like after Rochelle threw her point shoe at me, and I'm like crying because she's gonna kick me out of the studio and all the drama. But yeah, it was definitely like a challenging. That was probably the most challenging scene, just because I had to cry and be in the moment, and like I couldn't really, like, if you came out of it, then you were out of it. And then also talking heads, because we don't film the talking heads for that scene at the same time. So like weeks later, or like a week or whatever later, I had to like recreate how I was feeling in that moment during a talking head. And so like we're trying everything to get me back in that zone. And it finally took, because it was towards the end of the season, or it was the end of the season. And like they like said, okay, Milaina, think about how the fact that you have to go back to Calgary soon. And I'm like, and I started bawling. So then I was like, no. But yeah, definitely that was probably the most challenging, I would say, is having to cry on camera.
At least you got there.
Like emotionally. We did get there. Yeah.
Nice. And what was it like? Okay, now switching gears, because I know you also do pure dance. So how did your like teaching with them come about, and what was it like to teach virtually this year or last year?
Yeah. So I started at Pure as a student. Was it in 2015? I think it was before I joined the next step, actually. Yeah. So I was a student at Pure Dance in 2015 before I joined the next step. And then the following year, Bree asked me if I wanted to assist. And I said, heck yeah. So I started assisting, and I would go mostly to Edmonton and Calgary because I lived in Alberta, so it's easy for me to go to those cities. And then not last year, but the year before, she asked me if I wanted to teach. And I was like, yes, would love to. So I got to teach at my hometown, and it was just so much fun. And I love Bree. She's been a very big part of my professional journey, both like just motivationally and actually like helping me. So I love working for her, and Pure Dance is just like we're a big family, and it's really nice also to like have all the different cast members, not just from season 5 or just season 1. Like it's all across the board. So it's just so much fun to also, if I didn't get to work with them on set, I get to work with them in that setting, and it's just a lot more personable, and it's one of my favorite times of the year. So I really can't wait till we can get back in person and start teaching again. But yeah, and teaching virtually last year, definitely not the same, but it was so much fun, and it was nice to just even be able to do that for Pure Dance, because I know that some people really love it, and to be able to offer it to everyone, because we only go across Canada. So then it was open to anyone who wanted to take the convention, which is really exciting. Yeah, I love Pure Dance. I will teach there until the cows go home, but it was so much fun.
What is your choreography process like? Because I love your choreography. Like Real People Do was like one of the most beautiful pieces I saw last year. So.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Yes.
My choreography process, it depends. It's honestly different for everything that I do. I am very much, sometimes I will do it on the spot depending on what it is. So if I'm choreographing for my studios, a lot of the times I like to do it on the spot. I'll pick the song, obviously, but I like to do it on the spot because I can read the room and feel the energy and see what's going to look good on you guys and what's not. Sometimes I feel when I set things and then I bring it in, it just doesn't work the way I want it to, and I'd rather it be more of a collaborative. And that doesn't mean I'm like, oh, let you choreograph today. It just means it more is like I can watch what you're gonna do, I can see it in the moment, and some beautiful things come out of just doing it on the spot. And for like Real People Do, I've loved that song for so long. I can't remember what season it is of So You Think You Can Dance, but Jessica Richens and Casey did a duet to that, and it was one of the most beautiful duets I've ever seen. And I just fell in love with it. I'm like, I need to create to that song. And then last April, I believe, is when I set that choreography. I was setting it on my dancers who I was teaching at my studio, just like virtually, and I wanted to like make them do just upper body, because I was like, there are different ways to dance. You don't have to dance with your full body all the time. And I fell in love with my choreography, and all I was doing was just making up a combo for my dancers. And I was like, you know what? I want to make this into a concept video. So I sat down one night, and within 3 hours, I had a whole thing. I knew who I wanted. I knew who was going to edit it. I knew how I was going to film it. I knew the colors. I knew whatever. I like made a storyboard. So honestly, it just depends. Like those first inspirations are not all the time. I wish they were, but when they happen, they're magical. And then I got to have some of my best friends, because I did do it virtually. I got to have some of my best friends on that project. So that's how that came about. But it is also near and dear to my heart, because it was the first concept video I solely directed. So.
That's so cool to hear. And I think it was one of the first pieces that I saw like done like virtually, like through Zoom, that I saw come out that year. So it was really cool. And how did Like I Can come about with Dylan?
Yeah, so we have always, like, we've known each other for 6 years now, I think. But we've never really created together. We worked together. We took class together. We taught a workshop together where like I taught a class and then her and her sister taught a class, but we had never actually collaborated on anything. So Dylan came up with the idea, I think in December of 2019. We're going to say that's what it is. But she came up with the idea. She's like, let's make a concept video, because she was wanting to create more content. And she's like, we have never collaborated together. Let's do it. I was very nervous, I'm not going to lie, because we've seen Dylan. She's beautiful. She's an amazing dancer, and she's really flexible. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. In my mind, I'm like, whoo, goodness gracious, I better start stitching. So easy. We like came up with most of the choreography, I think, within one rehearsal. We got everything done. It was probably like maybe 3 hours. But honestly, it was just so much fun. And then this song came about. We were just like brainstorming. We're like, what are some songs that we would like want to dance to? And then we realized when we picked the song resonates with us, because we're saying like how the fact that you are better obviously together, but the fact that like when that person, that whether it's a significant other or a best friend or whatever it is, when they come into your life, you don't only get better together, but you also grow separately and like amazingly, because you now have that person to support you to do that. So it just became more sentimental as we started doing it. But fun fact, actually, we filmed it in 2 days. We were only supposed to film it in one, but I injured myself on the first day. So we had to stop filming. And then we filmed the other parts like at the end of the month, because I had hurt my shoulder and I was unable to dance for a while. So that's a fun little fact for y'all.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And I don't know what you're talking about. You're also very talented and also very flexible. Compared to like me, you got it. Like, no need to worry about that.
Yes, thank you.
You also did Descendants 3. So what was it like working with Kenny Ortega and Jamal Sims?
Oh, dream. I am a High School Musical fanatic. I love High School Musicals. So getting to work with Kenny Ortega was amazing. He is so awesome that he knows exactly what he wants and he knows exactly how to get there. And he's not afraid to ask you to do whatever it is. But he's also so lovely. He takes the time to get to know you, and he may not remember your name, but that's okay because he has to remember 500 million people. So, but he'll always come up to you and like say good job, and like he's just a lovely human being. So it was just so nice to see and to work with him. Again, one of those dream jobs that I was so excited to be a part of. And Jamal Sims is a lovely human being. He is so nice, so kind, so funny, great choreographer. Just nothing but good things to say about that set. Just all amazing.
What's the most challenging scene for that movie?
That's a good question. I think that the end, like the one with everyone together with what is it called? Oridon. There we go. I was gonna say Arendelle, but I'm like, that's Frozen. Oridon and the aisle when we come together and break it down. I think that was the most challenging scene just because it was the longest to shoot. We shot that scene for so long because we had to have the aisle side, whereas like that side of the, I don't know what you want to call that, and then the castle side, but it's actually the same set. They just like went from clean to dirty. So like we had to shoot the entire movie with one side, and then once we were done with those scenes, we could do the other side and they could redecorate the same set. So that was challenging because you had to like do it so many times on different sides. And then the bridge was done in a green screen. So we had a long bridge with a green screen all the way around, and you had like cameras going and everything like that. And also like China, I think, was going back to Black Lightning, so she had to leave a little bit earlier than like anticipated. So then it was just a lot. But so I think that one was definitely like the longest and most difficult, just because there was so many moving parts to it. That being said, it was still so much fun. We all loved it, cheered each other on. Kenny was great. He'd be like, "Okay, guys, let's go."
I think people underestimate just how much like work and choreography is put into these Disney movies, because like if you try to do the first scene in the aisle,
it was Good to Be Bad.
Yeah, if you try to do the choreography for that one, like I was out of breath. Like I tried learning it.
I was out of breath learning it. I was like dying. So I 100% can back that up.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely like you have to be top shape. So what was the biggest lesson that you learned from that experience?
That's a good question. You're asking some really great questions. I think from that set, what I learned was just not to be afraid to open yourself up to new people, because that was my first big job in Vancouver. And I didn't really know anyone. So that was another thing. I was like stayed with my people and like was very reserved. And now if I'm on set, I've grown a lot more since that first interaction. But yeah, I think the first thing is just like, don't be afraid to ask questions, and also to just interact with other people and introduce yourself. You're all on the same job. You're all there because you want to be there. There's no competition. Like, yes, okay, the audition is maybe a competition, but even then, like, support each other. I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned in this industry, is that there is room for everyone and your time will come. Something that I'm learning in my acting class right now is that what is for you won't pass you. So don't tear anyone else down just because you want this. Build them up, because that karma and that manifestation will come to you, whether it's for this job or another job. So I think that's what I learned, was that it's good to be a family on set and not feel like you're competing against something, because you're all already there.
That's switching gears to Zoe's playlist. Well, Zoe's Extraordinary playlist. What was it like working with Mandy Moore?
Oh my goodness, she's amazing. She's so much fun. She's a hilarious human being. She takes the time to get to know almost everyone's name. She makes us wear name tags so that she can like actually say your name instead of just like you over here, which is so nice. And if she doesn't say it right, she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's all good. You have 5 million names to remember. Especially in that show, because there's so many dance numbers, so many dancers are coming in and out. So honestly, just like the fact that she's trying is amazing. How she thinks and the things that come out of her mind are just dream, just a dream. I was like, I'm working with Mandy Moore. And then obviously, like, you're like, okay, you have to be on your best behavior because you're working with Mandy Moore, and you like, I want her to like me, and there's all these feelings. But Beth Morrison and Jilly Morrison, all of them together as team dance Julie Myers. They're all just amazing and take care of their dancers, especially because that is their baby dance team. That's what they're for. So to make all the dancers feel so loved and appreciated when they come on that set, and not just them, the entire cast and crew of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist are dolls, from wardrobe to lighting to producers, directors, everything. They're all so nice and make the dancers feel so welcomed every time they're on that set. So cannot say more good things about that place.
That's so good to hear. And also, it's like, I love that show because there's so many dance numbers. So there's like dance is like a big factor of it. And I was watching it was like, I think it was episode 8 where Luther Brown did that piece with
yes.
I swear, if he doesn't get an Emmy nomination for that piece, I will like riot. I love that one.
Right? We're all gonna hope and pray, because I agree with your statement.
Yeah. So what was your experience like working on Zoe, like season 1 and then for season 2 during the pandemic?
Yeah, so season 1 was definitely like, we didn't have to wear masks, obviously, so that wasn't a thing. But there wasn't, besides the mask and obviously having social distance and things like that, the atmosphere doesn't feel that much different. We're still all so excited to be there and so fun, and they're all so nice. Even the now COVID safety people are just very nice. They're like, oh, can you please put on your mask? Like, they're not there to be mad at you. They just want everyone to be safe. And yeah, like I wouldn't say that there's like a daunting difference, or that like I'm like, I prefer Zoe's when it was non-COVID. Like, obviously we all prefer non-COVID times, but I think it didn't affect my job in the way that like how I was feeling about it. Obviously rehearsals, you wear masks from the time you get into the building to the time you leave. But yeah, honestly, there's not that much of a difference, like mentally. It's just like, obviously there's a few new rules that you have to do, and like obviously you have to go for a COVID test before you are on set and things like that. But all in all, like the energy and the atmosphere is still the same, and it's still just as fun.
So what was the biggest challenge you faced in the industry, whether when you started or so far?
I think the biggest challenge throughout anyone's career path in the industry in particular is dealing with the down periods and not letting that defeat you. Obviously, like for example, like I booked the next step and it was great, and that was my first acting job, but I didn't book another acting job for another 2-3 years after that. And then after that, like I haven't booked something. So like, you just have to remember that those big things are great, but it doesn't mean that it's gonna like be consistent. And I think sometimes when we get into the industry, especially if we've had a good run at the beginning, you kind of expect it going forward. And that's something you have to learn, is that also it's not about you. It's not like you not getting cast or something is really 99% of the time it's so out of your control and has nothing to do with your ability. Like you can be the best actor and still not get roles. There are actors to this day. I was just watching an interview with Joshua Bassett, and he was up for the role of, what's his name in the show? I can't remember, but for the male lead in Sabrina Adventures. And Ross Lynch got it. And so like it just shows that like it doesn't matter how good you are or how famous you are or whatever it is, you still can get no's. So again, like just going back to what I said earlier, what is for you won't pass you, and you just have to keep putting in the work and understand that hard work always pays off. I firmly do believe in that. And timing is a thing, unfortunately, and you will never know what the timing is going to be. You just have to trust that the universe is there for you and that they're watching out for you. And when the time comes, it's gonna be great, but you gotta be patient, unfortunately. And so like I say it and it sounds easier than it is, but it's really hard. And especially when you see your friends succeed, like of course you're happy for them, but you want to succeed as well. So I think it's finding that inner peace of like knowing that I am good enough and that my time will come when it is ready.
What are some choreographers you would like to work with in the future, or what are some of your future goals?
Ooh. Choreographers that I'd like to work with in the future. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that question. So I don't think I have an answer. I think I'm just like open to working with anyone and everyone. I think everyone has something to offer, and I would love to just like see different experiences and new opportunities. I'm always up for that. Goals wise, I am definitely trying to move not more into acting, but getting more serious about that and wanting to book the roles. And my dream role would be to be in like a cop show. I love cop shows. Or like a lawyer suit. Oh yes. So like those kind of things would definitely be something that I'd be really interested in pursuing and getting to be a part of. So that would obviously be a dream role of mine. I think a goal is for me is just to like continue working hard and acting and dancing and to work as hard as I can. And I think to find inner peace that not like if you're not famous and top one, whatever, that doesn't mean you're not a working actor or dancer. It just means that wasn't your career path and that's not the way, but it doesn't mean you're not successful. So I think a goal for mine is just to continue in this and to still love what I do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and not lose that, because that's the reason why I'm in this industry. I didn't choose it for the money because it's inconsistent. I chose it because I love it and I wanted to love what I do. I didn't want to be doing a 9-to-5 job that I don't like.
Awesome. So what's your advice for young dancers who would like to pursue the industry, whether it's dance or acting?
Yeah, start sooner rather than later. I think the more experience you have, the easier it's going to be for you to adapt to different things. Take as many classes and as different of classes as you can. Especially as a dancer, the more versatile you are, the more you can fit into different molds for different things. I am able to do different scenes and different things like that because I am trained in all like so many different styles. So I think that's really important. As far as acting goes, yeah, get into classes as soon as possible and don't take yourself so seriously. I think that's something that I had to learn. I'm still learning that, even in my acting classes now. Comedy is a very big thing for me right now. It's not my strong suit and it's not my most comfortable, but I just have to learn to not take myself so seriously. And I think as dancers, we take ourselves very seriously. Yes. So that's something that I'm learning. But yeah, take all the classes. Don't be afraid to push yourself out of your own comfort zone. And don't be afraid to just take leaps and take bounds. My favorite thing that my mom taught me is say yes and figure it out later. And it has helped me get to where I am today. I wouldn't have done the next step if I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done the Descendants if I wouldn't have done that, because I was still in school when I did those jobs and I had to figure it out. I had to move away from home to Toronto and to Vancouver. So yeah, don't be afraid to take those risks and to take those leaps and just figure it out, because everything is figure outable is what I like to say. It's not a word, but I like to say it. So yeah, just take all the classes and take risks.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Those are all the questions I have for now.
Thanks for having me.